Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a replay of mine, and it's going to be my Jagdpanther II Ace tanker game. Now, this was only the fourth battle I played. I don't even have the top gun. Everything else I think I've got unlocked. Suspension, I suspect I spent free XP on, and all the other top modules I basically had from other vehicles. But the gun I'm using is the same 105 that you use on the Jagdpanther, basically. And even then, it's still a pretty decent gun, but in tier 10 battles you are going to struggle with only that 200 penetration. It's a bit like the VK4502A, except this doesn't have a turret. But like the VK4502A, you've got pretty good mobility. In fact, this is even better mobility, because it's on a medium tank hull. Although, you know, speaking of mobility, that says absolutely nothing about my driving skill, of course. Yes. Now, I don't know actually offhand how it compares to the Panther II in terms of how well it moves around. It feels like the whole traverse might actually be better. But just generally speaking, it's a fast, nimble, nippy machine, and I've had real fun playing this so far. I'm about halfway to the top gun, and even so, it's not, with this gun, it's not actually feeling like a terrible grind. Like the T28 prop, because I hadn't gone down the other line at that point. I do now have the T25 AT, but the T28 prop stock gun is pretty horrible, and I had to partially grind out the 120mm gun for that. That's the first enemy. Now, I wasn't being too aggressive here. The superstructure, the way it's sloped, I mean, it's really bouncy, but I was just waiting for backup because these are both of our tier 9 heavies, and this was good matchmaking, you know, in theory a tier 9 match, but only a couple of tier 9s on each side, so I don't want to be too gung-ho, I don't want to be too aggressive. Like I said, only the fourth battle, I was still getting the feel of this thing. So KV5's come up on this top path with me. We've got the 75 M103 engaging down on the middle, and that KV5 is just going for it, he does not care. Okay, well, that is a little bit gung-ho, but it's one of those situations where actually it's not necessarily the stupidest thing to do, because he's providing an excellent distraction. They've all turned around to shoot at this KB5, at which point we can just absolutely look at this. They're trying to mob this guy, and everyone else is just like surging forward to take advantage of this total state of distraction. So there we go. It would have been nice to roll a little higher and take out that IS-6, get the kill, but it doesn't matter. I'm racking up the damage here. And the rate of fire, one of the reasons why this gun, you know, it's usable penetration against side armor, which is, these are the shots I'm getting right now. But it's also got a really good aim time, the reload's pretty good, and the reload on the top gun isn't actually that much worse either. So, and just the way it turns, just everything about this, it's a really nice machine. It's like the T29 at tier 7, it's just, the hull armor's not great, you know, there are downsides, it doesn't have a turret. That was enemy arty, by the way, that just nuked that guy, but it's just got such a nice collection of stats that it just works really well. And I'm actually glad I didn't do the hipster thing for a change and unlock the Ferdinand first, that I actually went for this thing first. So, we've cleared out the valley. Our two tier 9s seem to be testing the waters about pushing into the base, but they might have defenders. In fact, they almost certainly will do. And I decided I'm going to turn back because meanwhile that was all going on, a group of their heavies pushed through the middle paths. We've only got a single AC-48 defending, and of course our 2 artillery. So there's a full health IS-3 and a one-shot IS-3, and sometimes doing the damage is the more important thing, but this time it felt like taking out that gun was the more important thing. And I did take a hit in the process, but as you can see, I'm wiggling madly here. I don't want to get hit by enemy arty. The enemy tier 9 arty, in fact even the enemy tier 8 arty, they're both perfectly capable of just one-shotting me. So I'm being cautious, probably more cautious than I needed to be, because I don't actually get shot by arty at any point during this part of the battle anyway. Spoiler alert, I suppose, for later on, but not really spoilers, you'll see. So I could be trying to be a little more, like trying to use the terrain here to be a bit more hold down, and I could really be putting the rate of fire to action into action a lot more here, but I'm just feeling very cautious because of that artillery. Now the M103's come round back this way. The E75 actually pushed through the middle as well. And it's probably a good thing they didn't try and push into the enemy base, because we don't really know what was there. Although, killing their artillery might have been, you know, if there weren't any defenders, killing their arty might have been nice. But both of them looked at the minimap and thought we'd better come back and defend. And it probably was the right call, because we're down on numbers right now. Defending the cap seems fairly important. So even with this pen, you know, I'm still racking up a pretty decent amount of damage. And yeah, granted that's a stock KV3, but it was his hull I was shooting at there. So I've amassed nearly 4k already. And at this point I'm starting to feel like we haven't seen that WZ-131 in a while. So the M103 is here defending. There's an E75 in the middle. I'm actually going to turn around because I don't want that guy to turn up and start shooting us in the butt, because the 131's got a pretty nice gun for a tier 7 scout. That's the flavour of the Chinese scouts, is that they have really good firepower for their size. They pack almost a medium tank punch with those guns that they get. So I'm just waiting to see if he pops up. I'm not sure. And the M103 maybe thought I was going to try pushing around, but he's actually repositioning to go round behind our cap to get in a defensive position, because there's still a bunch of enemies we don't know where they are exactly. We know where they were. Both the enemy tank destroyers and the Panther II were last seen on the outside part of the path. But it seems like the WZ isn't here either, so, well, I don't know. It was one of those times when my spidey sense kind of went, well, this would be a perfect opportunity for someone to come up behind us. But as it turned out, my spidey sense was wrong. So I'm going to turn around. Our E75 looks like he's going to try for their cap. And, oh, yeah, that's the one on our cap. So our M103 actually made exactly the right call there to go round, get behind our cap and get into a defensive position, use that terrain. Although it really is only defensible terrain from the point of view of tanks on the cap. It isn't, of course, from the point of view of artillery. So that's 3 things spotted, and although there's a Rheinmetall, I should really be just going that little bit extra forward and trying to shoot at the Rheinmetall, but instead I don't think that I notice him. However, I do notice that this WZ is trying to get around our M103, cause him to be distracted, cause him to turn his turret, so I'm going to try and help him out. Put one shot in, but this next shot is extremely badly aimed. Yeah, no, I don't know what I was thinking with that shot, but anyway. One more might take this guy out, and it does. So the M103 is still in the game. T25-2 and the Rheinmetall both really low health, and really I should have been aiming at the Rheinmetall as the higher priority target, but turns out not to matter, as the M103 then hits him like a fraction of a second later. But even so, I should have been aiming at the M103. That should have been my priority, because he had by far the most dangerous gun of those two. And at that point we could have taken out the T25-2 at our leisure. And instead I shot at the lower priority target, which was not a good move. It turned out not to matter, but it was still a mistake on my part. So we've equalised this now, and at this point the enemy Rheinmetall says their Panther II has actually gone AFK for whatever reason. He's had to leave the game. So this is where the mobility comes in nice, because I'm thinking, great, I can charge in, I can maybe farm a bit of damage off this guy, and I've nearly got 5k. You know, this was a good game. I wasn't sure this was going to be an ace tanker, but I knew a first-class mastery at the very least. But then I find enemy artillery who is able to just casually turn and blast. Oh well. Now, with the top gun, I probably would have one-shot him. With this gun, even HE in the superstructure possibly would not have done the trick. It might just have failed to pen, because I don't think the HE pen on this is particularly great. Not enough for hitting that superstructure reliably, I think, anyway. But he's damaged. We know where he is. We see there the E75 just going for their Panther II, who is indeed AFK. And I've managed to break the 5k damage mark, so that's quite nice. And I've also got a whole bunch of kills, so that's also nice. Now, if I'd killed Artie, it would have been a top gun, and that would have been even nicer. But anyway, so there we go. That M53-55 fires, misses, and the E75 is just able to sit there and farm some damage on this Panther II. Now, I'm not sure why the enemy Rheinmetall was like... it was trying to call out our E75 as though the E75 needed to be really close range to shoot the Panther II, but he is quite close range. He can quite happily hit the Panther II from where he is, so I have no idea what the enemy Rhymatool was going on about. OMG, you're just so afraid of an AFK Panther II. What part of him sitting there shooting the Panther II has confused you so much? I don't know, but apparently it did, so there you go. Somebody trying to trash talk and it didn't even make sense, frankly. So that was a whole bunch of ribbons and medals for that one. Well, not really medals, but ribbons certainly. I got an ace tanker, a bunch of ribbons that I can't even remember off the top of my head what they are. I got the bruiser token, and I got the high caliber medal, which was quite nice. Of the team, I was top on damage and score, and I think it was the 5 kills plus the 5k damage that got me the ace. Although even so, the Jagdpanther II is such a good machine that 1300, nearly 1400 base XP, but still, it feels kind of cheap for an ace on this thing. And I was kind of surprised that it was an ace and not just a first class, but I'm still quite happy to take it. I feel like that was a pretty good match, and it really put it through its paces and just showed off what's good about it. And it's that mobility, it's being able to get away and flank people and put yourself in interesting positions. And like when I went to see if that WZ was coming up behind us in a slower machine, that would have possibly been fatal. That might have put me out of action entirely, or it might have isolated me entirely. With the Jagdpanther II, it doesn't matter. You can just turn around and whiz off in a different direction. It's got that mobility, and I can see why Circle really likes it, because it has got that mobility. And for a lot of players, mobility is the key. Slow tanks definitely have their place on the battlefield, but the very best players tend to favour the fastest tanks because they give you the most tactical flexibility, even if of course that's at the cost of armour in a lot of cases. You know, a lot of these tanks at the extreme end, all you have pretty much are your hit points. That's not quite true for the Jagdpanther II, and that's possibly why it is so favoured as well, because it has got really good superstructure armour. But the hull armour, it's a Panther II hull, it's not really going to bounce much at all. But if you ever get a chance to go hull down in this thing, it can be ridiculously strong. So yeah, I am thinking maybe this one's going to be a keeper. I'm also grinding for the 30. I held on to my Jagdpanther, so I'm going to grind for the 30 as well. Might try that out at some point, but that's going to be a ways down the line. But for now, I'm certainly going to be grinding out the Jagdtiger through the Jagdpanther 2. Maybe I'll even get the Jaegeru at some point far down the line, but for now I'm just really enjoying this thing, and I'm glad I went with this first instead of the 30. I'm sure the 30 is capable of good games. In fact, we've seen that it's capable of good games on this very channel. I've put up some at least one high damage 30 game that I know of, but still, the Jagdpanther 2 is just, yeah, it's a good machine, and I think me and this thing, we're going to be friends. So, if you enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and, as always, stay tuned for more.